got to leave, and Jimmy, he's here, and I'll call you next.
Okay, so I'm not first up then?
No.
Okay, well, I'm over in the corner over there, so...
You don't have to hide in the corner.
Is Matt with you?
Huh?
Is Matt with you?
No, not tonight.
He was scheduled for here, and then he said he had a commitment.
Yeah, he's got something going on.
Yeah, he's probably.
Seemed pretty excited.
Huh?
He seemed pretty excited to run with you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Luckily, I've got 150 more horsepower than you, so that's good.
You need it.
I know.
No, I think you guys, it's going to be pretty cool.
It's time to start.
All
All right, we're on. Welcome to the Autosport Radio 2018 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGilvery Speedway at 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. Tonight's show is presented by Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Verizon IndyCar Series, and SVRA. A couple of things to mention, if you don't mind, quickly. First off, there is a table sitting over here with some very important people. It happens that the elder one sitting at the table is having a birthday today. She is 80. And we had a surprise for her yesterday. Her daughter, sitting on the end of the table, flew up from Florida. She knew about that, and her other daughter said, I got a doctor's appointment Tuesday. I can't be here until Wednesday. I contacted the Grant King Racers limousine, and I prevailed upon them, hired them big money, and we came and picked up Sharon for her dinner. The funny part was, what she didn't know is all of her daughters were here. So when she opened up the limo door, I have a hearing problem. She screeched. So, and we suggest, if you can, after the program, stick around a bit. Also, I want to mention that the next speaker series at Grant King Shops is Friday at 7:30. The doors open at 7. It's at 7:30. The speaker will be the blue-collar car owner and driver, Dick Simon. And joining him, as of this minute, we're told, will be Johnny Rutherford. And in the audience, or doing something nice, I'm sure, will be Bill Simpson. So if you want to get over there, the address is 8155 Crawfordsville Road. It's right next door to the old A.J. Watson shop, which is in shambles. So the nice one is where the Grant King shop is. If you get a chance to get over there, you want to call and make a reservation so they know you're coming, call 317-371-0290 and tell Bill you're coming. How about the Texas race? Everybody like it? Happy with the winner? Scott is now third all-time in wins. He's ahead of Michael Andretti, and the next shot, of course, will be Mario. So he's heading up that way, and I don't think there's any reason he won't make it. I want to give a shout-out to Gary Muley, who's listening in St. John, Michigan. Tell me his wife, who was here, was one of Sharon's daughters, that he listens every Tuesday. So Gary, glad to have you here. And Paul and Kathy Bryan down in Safety Harbor, Florida, called me and said, wow, you got a show, we're going to listen. Next week, so far scheduled, George Michael Steinbrenner, the owner of the car, the Indy Lights car that Colton Herta drove to win at the Freedom 100. I also have Santi Uritia will also be here, and I'm working on one or two others. So you don't want to miss next week. And if anybody's interested in getting into Tower Terrace Suites for the weekend event, it's Suite 20 and 21. It's $50 a day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can see Eileen, Carl, or Jay Creech are sitting right here underneath the light. The good-looking one is Eileen, incidentally. They have tickets with them tonight if you're interested, and if you're a pro driver and you're going to be around, you want to come up, see them, it's worth it. My first guest is a gentleman that I am always pleased to have around. He is the president and CEO of SVRA. When he took over the organization or bought it, it was just a little kids organization. Now it's big time. They have multiple membership, probably 5 or 6 or 10 times more than they had when he started. They got events all over the country, and it's really becoming an exciting series, and this weekend is going to be really good. So please welcome the man in charge, the big kahuna, Mr. Tony Parella. Is this more work than you thought when you started on this journey?
Oh my God.
sorry I asked.
I thought I would be able to mail this in and do a couple days a week. This is like a real job. But
Really?
I'll tell you, it is without question a labor of love.
You love cars, always have.
Ever since I was a young kid, and after 30 years on Wall Street and telecommunications and been blessed with a great career, I never loved what I did for a living till now. And it really, you can get your butt kicked all day long if you love what you're doing. In the corporate world, there were times that really, Wall Street is so unforgiving and so difficult to deal with. Running billion-dollar companies, which are clearly a lot bigger than SVRA, you had, on one hand, you had all of the amenities that you could possibly want as a CEO, but I was passionate about my team and passionate about the employees who worked there. I was never passionate about what I did for a living till now.
Didn't anybody ever come up to you and say, God, I love the product you put out. It really works well.
First of all, I sold network. So in other words, from one city to the next city when I started a company called MFS, it was transmission quality of your phone. You take that for granted. So nobody ever called me for that. And then we serviced phone system, and the only time they called me was when it was broke. They never called me after we fixed it. So it was kind of depressing. At least with this business, every single event we run, without fail, I'll get several emails and phone calls from the competitors that are just glowing reviews, and I also get an amazing amount from the fans that say, man, that event was really cool. So at least and I also get my fair share of criticism. Trust me on that. But by and large, we get high marks after each event. My team is really unique, as you know.
Yeah, now your team, this is a big operation. What do you got here? Coming here, 500 cars?
This one, we are at 360 cars and 30-something motorcycles. I've scaled it back a little bit. At the first year, we did 700, and I will never do that again because the quality of the event for the competitors was not good because there was so much demand to race here because that was new ground for amateurs to be able to race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So the demand was very high. But the experience was terrible. When you have 60-car grids or 70-car grids, that's not racing. It's like being on the LA freeway. So we've really scaled it back to put on what I think is a much better show for the fans and a heck of a lot better experience for the racers.
And strangely enough, although it's not, you draw some of the biggest names from the past are not only willing to get here, want to come here, and you can only have so many.
Well, let's start with last year. My co-driver was Al Unser. I have the unusual distinction of being able to say I'm the only man who's ever was Al Unser's 4-time winner of the 500 co-driver at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So that's about as big as it gets. It was such a privilege, but from Little Al to Willie to Geoff Brabham to John Martin to Johnny Rutherford, my Grand Marshal, Bobby Hunter, the names, it's the Hall of Fame of this place every year, either as honorary officials or as competitors in the Pro-Am. The biggest names who've ever raced here. I mean, Parella was here. I mean, you name it, we've had them over the last 5 years, and it's the underlying theme that I see that's really surprising, in professional sports, most athletes, when their career is over, they're gone. In this place, they feel an obligation to give something back to the community and to the fans who made them what they were. And I honestly, it's amazing to me. They donate their time. I don't pay them to come race. I can't make that work. We give the entry money to different charities. But even the NASCAR side now, we're doing this on the NASCAR side at VIR, and I got Bill Elliott racing here, and Ron Fellows is racing here. I did 2 promoter options just to mix it up. And to have those guys come here Bill Elliott, $1 million Bill, comes and donates his time for the love of the sport and to do something, give back something to the community. They're very special.
You know what impresses me with everything you're doing and the amount of people and teams and so forth, how big is your staff, your full-time staff?
Full-time, we have 9 full-time employees.
And there's 3 of them sitting right there. Or maybe 4.
At least 3. It's, you know, I will tell you, we have a process that each of us have to do to make an event work. But aside from the process and the systems we've built, they really want to make a difference in the sport. All of us have a passion for what we do. And it starts with the customer experience. We'll screw something up every event. But the way we respond when we make a mistake, I think what separates us and keeps us in good standing with our competitors. Again, my team, I pay them the best I can. I try to treat them with respect and honor. We want to have a best company in America type culture. But they are just workhorses, every one of them.
Is he paying over minimum wage yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Shout out to Kathy Swinburne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, if I can, back at the ranch, we have a lady who has worked for me for 20 years who is so unique and special in what she does. She fields every phone call for my company. And I don't care if it's a registration question, a fan calling, she's got it 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, it seems like. Her name is Kathy Swinburne. So, Kathy, I know you're watching. Hi, thank you.
And I also want to mention, I talk about this every week. There's only 2 left because some pilferers have been up here. But the Vintage Racing Quarterly, this ain't some rag that you find in a grocery store. This thing is a great magazine. For those of you like myself that have been around a long time, strangely you'll find out some of the cars that you thought as a kid were great are running. They got great stories. Pam does a super job. This is a top flight magazine. If you like vintage racing, you got to have it. And there's 2 left, so whoever beats themselves to death can have one. And also there's a program from this year. This year's program, there's only 3 left because they went out the door too. Not out the door, but so if you can get yourself up without getting hurt, you can get it signed by some of the people. Get Mark Dill to sign it too. Pick one up. This is the program. For Pete's sake, how many events do you go to that have a program like this?
We do 9 events that we do a program.
Yeah, but you're about it.
Yeah, we have a staff of 1 for that.
Really?
Yeah, plus the magazine.
Jeez. Well, anyway, have the events across the board all grown? Are they growing?
Without question. We just came back from Sonoma, Mid-Ohio. Let's see, Sebring was a record this year. We went to Road Atlanta for the first time in 7 years. That was great. Road America was up 30 cars. Sonoma was a record gate and car count. And I don't know what the final numbers here will be, but I'd be very surprised if this isn't a record gate. If the weather holds out, we should be really good.
You know, I get comments and calls and emails from people that say, you know, I can't believe SVRA and the people they draw. The drivers that are willing, like you said, to come here and perform. Now, the thing that I'm confused about, and it doesn't take much to confuse me, you've got about 11 different divisions. You've got the high horsepower for the heavy hitter with a heavy foot, and then you scale them back, and there's a gold something or other that you can do something with. I mean, you've got everything put together so that when you compete, you're competing equally.
Yeah. Well, as much as you can. I mean, first of all, when you're running a century of different automobiles, trying to level that playing field in itself is almost impossible. So before I bought SVRA, there had been, across the United States, there was no one sanctioning body for vintage racing, number one. And number 2, there were 13 of them that put on vintage races, and every one of them had a different rule set. And then within that rule set, every one of them had different degrees of enforcement. So, including SVRA, we had a published set of rules, and when I showed up and I looked at the cars, what we were approving to go on track was nothing what was written in the rules. It was just run amok. So, it's really hard to undo 30 years of abuse. So the way we've approached it, we formed a group called the Gold Medallion Cars, and we put these cars through an unbelievable rigorous inspection, from puffing the motors, checking the brake. Even the gauges have to be period correct. No modifications. I mean, as rigid as you can be. The inspection takes a couple hours. Those guys get us. We today nationwide have just about 300 of these Gold Medallion cars. Many times these guys will run 9th or 10th in a race, but yet we're going to have a separate podium to honor them because they drove the wheels off a car the way it really was supposed to be prepared. So I view they deserve that recognition versus the guy who tweaks everything on the car. It's not really a vintage car anymore the way it's campaigned. So we've really, on the cars like that are not Gold Medallion, we enforce 4 basic things: tires, weight, displacement, and brakes. If you get those 4 right, everything above and beyond that, God bless them if they're beating me. But when you have 350 to 400 cars coming to an event, if I get those 4 right, I've leveled the playing field. And so that really gives a great racer, a guy who tweaked the car or did some things, I kept him somewhat in a box. And I mean, this Pro-Am that we're running, there's 23 cars in it. There's a big block class and a small block class. I guarantee you there are some of those cars that have been tweaked. You'll know them. But this field is the most competitive field I've done. This will be the best racing I've had. In the 4 principles, brakes, weight, displacement, and tires, will be within the box. So have at it. Let them do it. And I think you'll see both the big block class and the small block class be a really exciting race.
Well, I'll tell you what, I never cease to be amazed at what you're doing, how you're doing it. I did mention to you, and you kind of cackled at me, that when you get the Vintage Racing Quarterly, it's nice of you to have room for some stories. You have sponsors, which, of course, to put this thing out isn't a dime store operation. It's a first-rate, well-done magazine meant to last. But you seem to be able to attract attention because what you're doing is good, and it's true. It's a true vintage series.
Yeah, I think when you look at that, Jaguar will be in their 5th year, Land Rover in their 5th year. We've brought in Merrill Lynch Public Group for private wealth management. We've brought in Sunoco. We've brought in Bell Helmet, but we've also brought in Airbus Helicopter and NetJet. So when you look at the luxury brands we've been able to attract, it's really changed the game because it enables me to put more money into the company to really get our process down and take care of the racers. We keep our entry fees extremely low. I mean, you show up to Indianapolis Motor Speedway or Circuit of the Americas, it's not cheap to put out a shingle say you're going racing. It's serious money, and yet a racer can race here this weekend for $595. So that's, when you think about what the overall expense is, that's the only way that happens is being subsidized by the sponsors, and they're great.
Is there a class for a 97 Buick?
No.
I got the right tires.
You want to come racing? I'll put you in my race car.
That's not a good idea either. Well, I'll tell you what, we have some of the participants here, and I know one gentleman works 17 hours a day, and then he goes home and has lunch. So we got to move on, but I appreciate you coming, taking the time to be here, bringing Kim with you especially. That's the only reason you're here. I hope you know that.
Absolutely.
But I thank you for coming. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I hope Mother Nature looks down upon it and said, nah, we'll hold it off until Wednesday. Hope it doesn't rain Tuesday.
Thanks for having me on. I hope you guys come out this
Tony
weekend.
Parella, CEO of SVRA. Thanks for Mark. I want to mention quickly, if you haven't joined IndyCar Nation, they give away more than 5,000 experiences last year. And join now at IndyCarNation.com and get access to tons of VIP benefits all season long. Use the promo code DonK15 and get 15% off of the Champion or Legend membership. IndyCar Nation, if you don't join it now, you should. And if it's time for insurance for your home, your car, or commercial property, call Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. His number is 317-248-0070. Get a quote. You might be surprised, like all of us have. You get better coverage for less money, and when you have a problem, Mike is right there. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in the beautiful town of Speedway. That's VP Insurance, 317-248-0070. Talk to Mike Pardee. My next two guests are gentlemen that have been around. The young man sitting next to me is probably was one of the most popular drivers in the series. He won the Copper World Classic out in Phoenix, and voila, he got a ride in IndyCar. And did quite well, actually, for himself. He's a quality driver, was a quality driver. Everybody loves to see him, talk to him. I was surprised he lives in Brownsburg. He's buying Brownsburg out, by the way, slowly but surely, and Shirley is not sure this is a good idea. But he's, we'll find out what all he's doing and what brings him to town. Please welcome the one, the only, Mr. Jimmy Kite. And sitting next to Jimmy is a guy who built a kart track out in the middle of nowhere in Newcastle. And he got it done. I went out and I said, "Are you going to put garages up?" He said, "Oh, no way. Are you kidding?" He's got more garages, and he's got people waiting to get in. He's got a phenomenal business, runs some great events out there. And incidentally, I talked to Susie Weldon. The Dan Weldon Memorial event will come back. It's scheduled for October 13th. So put that together. And we'll be out here, naturally, under the watchful eye of my guest, the winner in the IndyCar Series. Please welcome Mr. Mark Dismore. Have you put your helmet away now and you're making signs?
I still have my helmet.
Oh.
Still use it, but a couple years ago, my fiance and her father had a sign shop, and he passed away, so I helped her start up one of her own, and now I've kind of cut back doing my driving stuff on the road to help her make signs and do stuff I never thought I'd be doing. But I still once a month get away and go do my stuff with Dodge, and I drive the pace car for the Ferrari Challenge Series, so I still get to put a helmet on every once in a while.
Honestly, do you go fast enough that you need it?
My favorite line in COTA when we were out there was when we were trying to bring the field around real slow so I could peel off, and we just missed it. I'm on the front straightaway, and race control actually said, "Pace car, as soon as you hit start finish line, get back here as fast as you can." And it just smiled, and like as soon as I turned the light off, I was like, here we go. I actually got free clearance to drive this Ferrari as fast as I can around COTA.
And you brought it back clean.
I did, thank goodness. It looked nothing like Detroit.
Do you miss driving at all? IndyCar Series or the, Silver Crown stuff?
We're racers. I mean, I miss it. I mean, especially when May's here. I was out there a little bit, not enough with everything else going on. But, yeah, I mean, it was such a big part of my life. And, for 10 years, I drove cars out there. And, it ended quicker than I thought it would. And, I still miss it.
Mark, your career started out, your dad was built Comet carts. So the obvious thing for you to do is, well, gee whiz, I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't flip well. My wrist is not good. So you got into racing. Did you go where you wanted to go, or did you get higher than you thought you would when you started?
It was, I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest. I
didn't know how to ask it, if you want to know the truth.
I didn't have any intention of racing cars, to be honest. I enjoyed racing karts and had a lot of fun. And then I got to be 30 years old, and all of a sudden I was thinking, man, maybe I do want to race a car, and I had an opportunity to go drive a showroom stock Corvette, and I went and did that. A buddy of mine owned one, and one thing led to another, and the next thing you know, I'm racing cars. I mean, it really all happened kind of accidentally. I'd have done things a lot differently, knowing what I know now, but I think everyone that's ever driven a race car can say that and would say that. But, it was a weird journey, but I enjoyed it. I mean, and I'm like Jimmy, I miss it. I look in the mirror and say, who's that old guy? But if I don't have a mirror in the house, I still feel pretty good.
You know, you accomplished something that a lot of guys that drove for 10, 15, 20 years didn't. You won.
Yeah, I got lucky at Texas and won one, and should have got lucky about 10 times, but I didn't. Luck wasn't one thing I had a lot of. There was a few races I straight up should have won, but it didn't happen. And like I said, a lot of people can say that, but it's frustrating. It is what it is, and I was blessed to be able to be affiliated with a guy like Dan Gurney and win the 24-hour race with him with the factory Toyota deal. And Gurney, I mean, I'll tell you, that guy was a class act. When I got hurt at the Speedway, I'll tell you a quick story. So when I got hurt at the Speedway in '91, I figured that was pretty much the end of me. I mean, I didn't really have a silver spoon or nothing, and I wasn't really sure how I ever would get back to having any kind of chance, no matter how, poor a chance it was. And so I'm getting mended, and I'm laying in a hospital bed, or at home actually. They set me up a MASH unit, and Dan Gurney called me one day and just asked me how I was progressing. I said, pretty good, I said, I still can't walk, but I plan on dancing by my birthday, and that was in October. I wasn't dancing in October, but I was on my feet on crutches, and he called me again, and I want to say it was around that time, asked me how I was doing. I told him I was really progressing. I was working out, doing all the physical fitness I could and training and trying to get in shape. And he said, we're testing. It was the end of December at Daytona, and I had run with him the previous year, and we got fourth. And he said, if you want to come down and run with us on the test, he goes, I'll invite you, but I don't hire race drivers that are on crutches. So I showed up down there, and I had crutches in the back seat of the rental car, but I hobbled, and every step I took was like, oh, God damn, this hurt, just every step. But I didn't have no crutches. And back then, I mean, it was a little different driving. You had to shift, and you were a lot busier now, where it's like a video game pretty much. But Dan put me in the car. I was there for one day of testing and watching and so forth, and Dan put me in the car at the very end of the second day of testing, and I went out. He said, I just want to see what you think, and I went out and ran, and he left me in the car. I think I did like 15 laps, and after, I don't know, a handful of laps, you had a pie system in there. You knew what your lap times were, and I knew what their lap times were because I'd been clocking them. And I'd been all over that racetrack. I knew where every brake mark was at those guys were using and everything. I was going to make sure I was going to make the most out of this audition. And I went out, and I was on pace. So we got all done, and me and him talked for a while, and he goes, so how's your mind? And I said, it's good. I miss this stuff. He goes, so do you want to be with us in February, January, whatever it was? And I said, absolutely, if you'll have me. And he said, come back. And if it wasn't for that guy, I mean, I don't think I would have got more opportunities, to be honest with you. And then that year we DNF'd. We had a mechanical, and then in the next year, in '93, we won overall. So I really, I miss Dan, and he was an awesome person, and I just wanted to recognize him, and that was a part of my life that storybook, really.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is the wreck you had was a bad one. It wasn't, oops, he slipped and almost hit. You hit hard and did a lot of damage to yourself, and I see you when you came back, I thought, my gosh, look at this, you're back.
Yeah, my God, that guy's stupid.
No, I didn't say that now. Jimmy, do you do SVRA events at all other than this one? I mean, does anybody want you other than people here say, oh, we got to have Jimmy?
I doubt it.
Oh,
No, it's Indianapolis. I haven't done any of the other ones. It's a great series, obviously. I'd love to anytime you get to drive these cars, I'd like to, but it's the point of this one is just so much fun here. I mean, it's in my backyard, so it's not as if I have to travel that far to run this race. Tony knows as soon as this year's event's over, the next day I'm going to be already waiting on that email. Hopefully I'm getting invited back, for next year. It's just so much fun. I mean, we all, get to race against the guys that I used to race with, but even the ones that I grew up as a kid getting to watch race, and then by the time I got in Indy cars, they were done, and they were still around the racetrack, but they were already done with their IndyCar stuff. The kid in me thanks to Tony and SVRA, getting to still race against these guys out here, the kid in me just absolutely loves this event.
Can you believe, and I don't think anybody's listening right now, so I'll tell you, there's one guy that's entered, it's going to be 85,
Yep, I know exactly.
and he can still try.
Yep, that is the man that got me through my rookie test at the Speedway
Yeah,
and was
yeah.
my engineer for my very first IndyCar race. So again, as I was just saying, to actually get to race with that man for his final race is an absolute honor.
Unbelievable. When Tony said, are you sure you want to go? You're going to be 78. He said, baloney, I'm going to be 85. Oh, okay, well, so what? So he'll be here. Your karting facility is rated as one of the best in the country. How long did it take you to lay this thing up? I mean, did you spend a lot of time figuring out, because of your experience with karts, almost your entire life? Your dad built them, so you were around them forever. Was it difficult to lay out the track, or did you have in your mind what you wanted and you put it up? Because everyone that's been there, anything you read about, it's the best.
Well, I drew it on my kitchen table, and that's the truth. I drew the whole thing to scale, and yeah, I did a lot of erasing and changing and so forth, trying to figure out what would be fun, and literally drew it to scale on my kitchen table. After I was able to find a property and get it zoned, I went out there and it was a cornfield and flat as a pancake. Drove stakes in and everything according to what I had drawn on paper, and took a bush hog around, cut it down best I could cut it down. I took an old pickup truck, believe it or not, drove around there pretty fast and thought, yeah, that'd be fun. And that's how it ended up like it is.
Huh, you didn't do it the way Sarah and Andy did. Andy, and somebody laid it out, and she came home at the end of a bottle of wine. She had changed the track and put it a second level in it. But
there was some beer involved.
oh, I was hoping I could pry that one away. Is it a difficult, because you got a lot of people out there all the time? I mean, there's always carters out. Your garage doors are open. Guys are working on them. It's got to keep you busy. What time do you show up in the morning? 6:30?
Well, honestly, I'm not there that much. My son-in-law does most of it. Mike Adams does a hell of a job managing the place. I'm at comic card sales most of my work hours. Yeah, I'll go out there Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, we have events on the weekends. I'm out there for the weekend, but through the week I'm at the shop.
And Comet is still booming along.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing good. You know, I mean, karting is a fickle sport. I mean, it's fragmented, and a lot of people import things, and then that is, you know, a motivation to guide the sport in a certain way. And I don't agree with a lot of the things that happen, but thank God with Newcastle, at least we can kind of control our destiny locally and try to, you know, keep costs down and keep things consistent. So you create a secondary market for all the used carts and things like that. And nationally speaking, I mean, Scoos is at the top of the chain in regards to Premier Series, and I do think Scoos is a good series to go to if you've raced karts a while and you want to measure yourself. But a lot of the series, I don't know, they seem to be floundering, trying to figure out what direction to go and things like that. And it's kind of scary, honestly, as far as what's between club level and then when you get to Scoos, the stuff in between that should be thriving and everything, but they just seem to keep adjusting rules around, and it's never a good thing.
Do you have a lot of events? First off, do you have your own club? Do you have a club that, you know, races every week or whenever they do? Do you have your own in-house series club?
I mean, you got to call it something. So we called it KRA, which is Kart Racers of America, and it's just a local. We don't travel; it's just there at the track. But we have like the possibility to do 40 different layouts with all the asphalt we've laid, and you can go forwards and backwards. So it's almost unlimited, all the different tracks you can do.
Do you race in the winter? Do you have a snow blower?
I wish we did race in winter. It sure make it easier on making ends meet. I'll tell you, when you're closed 5 months out of the year, that's not a good thing, because I've got like 4 people that I keep on payroll because I don't want to lose them. And you can keep them busy doing some maintenance things, but it gets pretty lean.
You don't open a restaurant?
It's the restaurant business is a hard one to make money at. I'll tell you.
You're not kidding.
We have a captive audience out there, and it's still sometimes it's nothing more than a service business. It's not really a profitable thing.
I got news for you. Stand in line for a half an hour. You better be making a buck. I've been standing there.
Yeah.
Jimmy, how did you get started? I mean, your big start, as far as I can remember, when you came in, it was when you won the Copper World Classic, and that got a lot of people's attention. Wow. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, a guy wins like that anymore, and say, oh, he won the Copper World. Okay, and they go on. But at the time when Indy Racing League started, that was a big jump and got people's attention and really kick-started your career in IndyCars.
It did, and I mean, I lucked out in the era I came up. I started in quarter midgets when I was 8, and then ran mini sprints, and then actually 2 days after I graduated high school down in Georgia, I moved up here to Avon, Indiana, to spend the summer to try to get a ride on Thursday Night Thunder. Back when Tony Stewart and Kenny Irwin and all the guys were doing that, and it was so popular. Jeff Gordon had just made his move down south, and it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to race on TV and see what I could do in the USAC stuff, and spent. 94, I got a midget ride, got to run some midget races, and then 05, got to run some sprint car stuff, and then lucked out in 97. Basically, it was almost like a friend to a favor to a friend that I got a ride at the Copper World. My name wasn't even on the car, the seat didn't fit, and had to get a phone book to set on to even kind of get it up underneath my arms, and still have that phone book, by the way. Eighth or L through Z section of the Phoenix phone book I still have, because that's what I was sitting on when I won the Copper World. but no, it was so funny, because after that race, everybody knew my name, and before that, nobody did. One of my friends that was a spotter for Jimmy Sills actually came down after the race, and I mean, I had met Sills when I was a kid. I can't tell you how many times, but this was the first time that Jimmy Sills came up to me and wanted to know my name. And when I met him, it was so cool. We sat there and we talked for a little bit, and he walked away, and my buddy that was his spotter goes, all right, man, I got to tell you the story now. So as soon as you went by him on the outside, and I had to say, car high, clear, Sills comes on the radio and says, who is in the 92 car? My buddy Tony says, Jimmy Kite. So in the next corner, Sills comes on the radio. Who is Jimmy Kite? Fortunately, after the race, he got to know who I was.
And the spotter should have said, Jimmy Kite's the guy in front of you. Your parents always supported you all along the way. We'd be running, not we, but the Indy Racing League would be running somewhere, and you turn around, there's your mom and dad there. They always supported you and all the way you went. Are they helping you making signs?
They're not. They are enjoying retirement over in Missouri.
Missouri?
That's actually where they're originally from. My grandparents'
Oh.
stuff were over there. But Dad actually had a couple of semi-strokes about 6 years ago, and it kind of messed with his eyesight really bad. But fortunately, this actually past January, there's a new surgery that's out that he did some surgery on both of his eyes. And one of them's still iffy, but the other one, he has about 90% of his vision back that he hasn't had in 5 years. So to be able to see as much as he can, like he can read the little letters on the TV that he hasn't been able to see for 5 years. So it's just, thank goodness for some of the technology out there.
And they're both doing well.
Yep, very well.
Tell them I said hello.
I will, for sure.
I think of them frequently. Your son, what's he doing?
He does the internet for us. He does all the website design and maintenance and all the things that you have to do to stay on top of that. And he's involved with the engine building at the shop now, all two-stroke stuff. That's what it is, all two-stroke stuff primarily. But he runs a dyno all the time. We just got an eddy current dyno that's made in France. It's really a state-of-the-art dyno for two-stroke racing engines. And he's in charge of all the development on these engines. Doing a tremendous job. I can't even begin to tell you how many hours he spends on that thing in a month. It's crazy.
And you mentioned there's 4 people you try to keep on the payroll all winter. I assume he's one of them.
Yeah. Well, the shop does okay in the winter. It makes its own way only because the Sun Belt, we ship parts all over the place. It was crazy. So we do the internet business around the world, literally, as far as karting goes. And twice this year, I've boxed up packages that went to Fiji.
Fiji?
You race karts in Fiji, Tahiti. It's bizarre. I don't know. If I ever go there, I just want to find this guy. I find out where he races go-karts.
He probably got a license plate and he zips around town with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's bizarre, though. He ships stuff. We literally ship stuff everywhere. It's China. It's mind-boggling.
Well, I want to thank both of you for taking time to be here. And Jimmy, I didn't know you were in town, but Mr. Dill sent you an email, everybody an email saying they're coming here tonight, even the guy with that hat on. I think do you eat out of that hat? You put soup in that or something? No, yeah, you. He sent out an email, so now I got your email address, so I'll chase you back. I'm sure, would you like to hear from Jimmy every once in a while?
You know I love it here.
All right, I won't invite him. Okay, you made your point. Well, everybody will be out to watch you guys this weekend, and thanks for taking the time to come here. And if I ever need a sign, I'll find somebody to make one.
You know a guy.
I want to speak for Jimmy and me both when it comes to Tony. I want to just personally tell him thank you, because if it wasn't for what he's doing, him and me would get to come out and have fun once a year, because other than this, I never get to sit in any kind of a race car. I don't get to go drive a Ferrari like Jimmy here. But I do. I really, sincerely, Tony, thank you, because it's awesome for a lot of us. It's not just me. It's and Jimmy. It's all of us. We really appreciate what you do. So thank you.
All right. I'll invite him back again. I don't know if I'll find Mark, but we might even give that one a shot along the way. But thanks for coming over. Jimmy Kite, Mark Dismore. Is Jeff here? Jeff, come on up here. And Theo, come on up here. I want to remind you that, as I said, this magazine, the Vintage Racing Quarterly, top-notch magazine. To subscribe, go to SVRA.com and subscribe to it. It's a great magazine. There's 2 of them left, I think. You might have a battle maybe to get a hold of one and take a look at it. It is really something. Subscribe to it. You won't be sorry. Trust me. My next 2 guests are 2 gentlemen that are in opposite ends of the world. The young man sitting next to me is a former Formula One driver. He's a former IndyCar driver. His son is driving trucks at the moment and doing very well, becoming very wealthy, driving Robbie Gordon's trucks. But this man has been around for a long time. He's always fan-friendly, always easy to talk to, and had an outstanding career. Please welcome Mr. Geoff Brabham. And sitting next to him is a young man whose father said, "You ain't getting in a car. You're going to shoot." And I think it was last year, against more than 3,000 competitors, he won the national championship. One of the best shooters in the world. Please welcome Theo Ribbs.
Thank you.
Theo, quickly, when you travel somewhere, does that guy with the hat always come with you?
Now as I'm getting older, no, but 16 to about 21, or until I can rent a car on my own. He was with me, and everyone was wondering who's this big black dude with a cowboy hat and alligator skin boots on.
You didn't claim him, did you?
No, I just said he was my manager.
What's it like to compete what you do? Now, your dad, when you were here last year, said you won at Dubai. You had to go halfway around the world to win a championship. What's it like to compete against all these guys and win?
It's like anything. Competition's competition, really. You're doing it because you just love to compete, and when you win at a big level, it's amazing. I mean, you can ask Al Jr., my Uncle Al. You can ask my dad, Jeff, any of them. When you win, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, but you're following something, a moving target. I mean, could you hit a race car at speed? Could you do it?
Yeah, it's pretty big, so
Okay.
pretty sure.
Jeff, growing up, was there ever anything else that you were destined to do besides drive race cars?
That's a good question, really, because when I started racing, which was like early 70s, and obviously my dad had just retired. Well, he was racing in England, and there really wasn't many second-generation drivers racing at that particular time. It kind of wasn't the done thing so much. More so probably here in the States, but not so much in Europe. And obviously growing up with it, going to the races, and you've always in the back of your mind as a kid say, this has got to be better than working. So. When I had the opportunity, my dad retired. We went back to Australia. I was kind of lucky because he had a Ford dealership and he was sponsoring a Formula Ford. And it took me, I don't know, a year and a half before I could, before he actually let me drive the car. And once he realized I was serious, and he obviously helped me as much as he possibly could at that particular time. But I remember the first time I ever drove a car, this is the only advice he ever gave me, was he said, there's the throttle, there's the brake, there's the clutch. If you crash it, don't come back. That's it.
Well, there's encouragement for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But, being the son of Sir Jack, did that put a lot of pressure on you when they say, this is Jack's son, for crying out loud? Did it put a lot of pressure on you, or did you not?
No, I think anybody whose father did something, you follow in the footsteps. To me, it's just an absolute non-issue, because you're doing it because you want to do it, and people, the perceived perception is somehow that puts pressure on you, but it really doesn't, because the pressure you put on yourself makes the pressure of your family name like a pimple on an elephant's bum. It's just insignificant,
But the elephant doesn't think so when he sits down. But now your son Matt is driving, and I know when he was here, was it last year? The year before he was here, and a very popular driver. I mean, I ran into him in Long Beach. I didn't hurt him. I just tapped him as I went by. And I know he'd like to come back. And the last time I talked to both of you, he keeps working on that project. Is he interested? Does he want to get back to IndyCar?
Oh, absolutely. He's desperate to get back into an IndyCar, and just takes money.
Is that all? Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
You can be lucky. A couple of guys at the moment, got into IndyCars without having to bring money. But generally, that's the way you've got to do it. And at the moment, we haven't had that much success, doing that. So we're trying. In the meantime, he's going to the races, and he's racing with Robbie Gordon's stadium super trucks, and doing some racing in Australia as well. But his ultimate goal is to get back into an IndyCar.
You know what amazes me? The Stadium Truck Series. They raced on an oval, and they put these jump things in. People love it. When they used to run in St. Pete, I understand there was some kind of a conflict. They don't, but wherever they go, the fans just love it. They stick around and watch it.
Well, they put on a great race. I think racing has to. It's all very well, going out there and having cars run around 2 seconds apart, nose to tail. I mean, there's a part of that which happens, and that's part of racing. But I think what the stadium super trucks do is, obviously they always start the fastest guys at the back, and they just put on a really good show. And I think the crowds also look at it and say, well, there's no way I want to jump a truck that high, and that fast. So they're doing something that, the average person doesn't want to do, but they admire what they're doing. And, and there's always something going on. Like Matt raced at at Dallas last weekend. In the first race, the hood came up and blocked the windscreen. He couldn't see the jump, and he ended up barrel rolling down the road about 6 times, and put him out. But he came back and won the second race. So there's always something going on in those races.
Now, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would look at Robbie and say, I wonder how that hood flipped up. Because Matt wins most of them. He's leading. I think he's leading. And when I talked to him at Long Beach, I said, your trucks, is it worthwhile? He said, yeah, it does. We do pretty well.
Yeah, no, he's leading the championship at the moment, but and he lost the championship by 1 point last year, so it was, he's a little bit angry about that. So I think it's showing in his results this year.
Theo, how do you race drivers do physical workout? They go pump iron and whatever it is they do, and then they test and drive the car and test it. What do you do to keep sharp? How do you keep your eye and your eye-hand coordination to hit a moving target, which isn't very big to start with?
Right. Well, I obviously physically train. Been physically training my dad a lot for this race. If he took off his cowboy hat, you would see a bruise on his head because he wanted to Roman Greco wrestle with me, and it didn't end up too well for him. But Anyways, no, I have these glasses. They're like a strobe. They strobe, and so what I use, I throw like a tennis ball off a wall, and it blocks your vision. Is, sort of about 23% of your vision is blocked, so it makes you focus on that ball harder when you're trying to catch it with your left or right hand. And I try to work my right hand as much as I can because that's my moving hand. I'm naturally left-handed. So I want to have as much, coordination with my right hand as I possibly can. And so, using your eyes and just a couple of different things like that. And then lift weights, run, just normal stuff.
That's what your dad does, lifts weights and runs a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's got back in the boxing gym, so yeah, we're getting him back in shape. He's looking good for 63.
Are we going to see him at MMA by any chance?
No.
Oh, okay.
If he can't out wrestle me, he's not allowed in MMA.
How many events do you compete in during a year?
Major championships between 12 and 15.
And how about, is there such a thing as exhibition?
There is, but it's not really that big. I do charity events here and there with my friends, just, sort of give back and have a little fun and stuff like that. And we also shoot live pigeons, which is really interesting.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of underground, but it's for a lot of money. So.
I know a couple of places that got some pigeons. Would you want to come out? They hire you to come on.
Hey, come on, man. It's like a flying rat. I'm down.
Didn't your dad shoot originally?
Oh yeah, he can shoot pretty dang good. So.
But you can whip him there too.
Well, yeah, but
You
I'm
don't like
supposed to.
Oh.
I can't outdrive him, so hey, if we ever in a drive-by situation, he'll be the driver, I'll be the shooter.
What's your next national event or major event?
Acapulco, Mexico, in July 14th through the 16th or 17th, I believe.
Oh, really? Acapulco?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why don't they have it in Gary, Indiana?
I don't know. Isn't that kind of rough area?
Well, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, boy. Geoff, do you enjoy watching IndyCar racing now, or Formula One for that matter? One thing I like about IndyCar, it's a little more competitive. There's 3 or 4 guys in Formula that win everything, except Mr. Hamilton has been struggling of late, which is kind of interesting because now he's going to have to stab it and steer it. But do you follow it, and would you like to be driving now? If you were, his age?
Well, I think, I've always got an interest in racing. So, I don't necessarily go out of my way to go and watch a race like I used to. But, if I'm around and the TV's on, I'll switch the TV on and have a look. But, with my son racing too, I get a big kick out of, obviously following him and going to his races. But the rest of it, I don't know. You kind of been there, done that, and unless you're absolutely directly involved in it, then you kind of just drift away a little bit, I think, as the older you get.
Has anybody ever contacted you to be a driver coach?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that in the past. I obviously been actively involved with my son, even though, the father-son relationship can be quite difficult at times, So
Oh, really?
You'll tell him something, and then you just look at you like, you're just my dad. What do you know? So you get a little bit about. Then he'll come back about 10 minutes later, say, yeah, actually, what you said was actually probably quite true, So, but that's just a normal relationship with that other stuff. But when I retired and I went back to Australia, I actually ran the BMW driver training program in Australia for like 14 years, and
oh, really? Just 14?
So it wasn't necessarily. It wasn't even though we did it at racetracks, it wasn't racing orientated. It was just a high performance driving school, if you like. So I kept my hand in a little bit doing stuff like that.
Do you enjoy coming running the SVRA?
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's. I was here for this race a couple of years ago, and they had a competition for the best looking Brabham race car, and anyway, I gave away the trophy for the winner, and as I was giving Ron the trophy, he says, I've got 2 of these. Why don't you come and race it next year. And I thought, not really. I hadn't raced anything for like 16 years. And anyway, he finally talked me into it. And anyway, the first practice session I went out in, I actually got motion sickness. And I sent my wife off to get some seasick pills, and I'm thinking, I just can't do this anymore, And then the next time I went out, it was like I'd never been away. It was amazing, and I hate to say it, I'm actually having a lot of fun, and thanks to everyone at SVRA, it's been really quite enjoyable, and I'm always looking forward, to the next race.
Well, Theo, you may have thought I was kidding, because I saw you in May at the Speedway getting out of an elevator, and of course he's pushing people. You know who I am. And I said, by the way, I want you. I don't want to talk to him. You're a national champion.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm probably your first shooter you've ever had at this show, so
Yes,
I appreciate
that I know
having me.
of anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Geoff, I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. And I hope somehow you and Matt can get together and find some money and get him in here. He needs to come back. I think he's a crowd favorite. He's a super nice kid. I mean, I hate to say that you're sitting here, but he really is. And I mean, I'm an old codger. I should have packed this in 25 years ago, but he always comes up and says hello and shakes it. Nice young man. Hope to see him back, and thanks for stopping by. Geoff Brabham. And one of the top shooters in the world. Follow it. It's interesting to watch the shooting. Watch for this guy, and if he's got something in his hand, duck. Theo Ribbs. Thank you. My next two guests are on their way. One of them had to put his hat down so you can't see the bruise on his head, I guess. The young man coming up from behind me. Mind your way. Oh, don't you start this crap. Jeez, I had enough with your dad doing that nonsense. Want to remind you, if you're interested in a Tower Terrace suite for the event this weekend, suites 20 and 21 are available at $50 a day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can contact Elaine, the good-looking one here, Carl, and Jay Creech sitting across all by himself because nobody wants to sit with him. If you want to give them a call to talk about getting involved in it or buy tickets tonight, their number is 317-847-1616. Be great. Now, my next two guests. What are you looking at? Oh, you're looking at yourself. Oh, that's good.
No, I didn't know you had a TV here.
I don't. She does. You got a bunch of them. He is a former champion himself, very well known in the Trans Am world, and everybody knows him by only one name. It doesn't matter that his name is William Theodore. Everybody knows Willie T. And the gentleman sitting next to him, there's only one thing you have to say about him. He's a two-time 500 winner, Unser Jr. As an executive with Harding Racing, is it fun being back involved in the sport?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've truly enjoyed it. I mean, we've definitely had our challenges this year so far, and so being part of a new team and all that, it just it reminds me more of my Rick Gallis days.
Yeah.
When I was a rookie and the first couple of years with Rick and all that kind of stuff, and so the mistakes that we've made and all that. I mean, it's really real close to what we were doing back in 1983 and 84, and so yeah, we're growing and we're learning, and everything's going pretty good for where we're at. So.
And having worked with Brian, that's got to be kind of neat to be back with him working and leading a team forward.
Well, it started out really neat, but recently Brian's been pulling his hair out for sure, because he even said to me the other day, "What did you get me into?" I said, "Hey, I want to go racing. Let's go racing." So, no, he's doing great. The whole team is doing great, So.
Well, one thing about it, your driver hasn't put the car back in bags. You rolled it back and put it on the back of the so far.
Easy. Yeah, he's Gabby's a extremely good driver, if not a great driver, and you know, he's got great car feel. His raw talent is just immense, and then and what impresses me the most is when the car's not right, he doesn't overdrive it. He doesn't try to make up for something that ain't there, and that takes patience, that takes maturity, and he's really shown it. He's impressive.
I remember an interview you did. I think you finished second to your dad, I believe. Somebody asked you, Al, did your dad teach you everything you know? And he says, yes, everything I know, but not everything he knows.
And that
remember
still
that
goes today. Okay. You should hear him on the phone after the races. He's calling me up, and I'm looking at the phone, and it says Dad on it, and I go, oh man. So I answer, hi Dad. What happened? So it's been good. It's been all right. Like I said, it's taken me back all the way to when I was a rookie, and Dad would ask me what happened, you know, why didn't you win, kind of thing. So
Willie T, what in the world did you train? Did you train him how to shoot?
and
Initially.
just officially,
Yeah.
Theo is a future world champion.
Oh, I have no doubt about that.
Okay, he's a national champion today, but he is a future world champion tomorrow.
If you are, can you give me your secretary's name so I can make an appointment and maybe get you back? Okay.
Well, Theo's Al's shooting coach too.
Yes.
Al goes out shooting with us, and Theo. Yeah.
You should see me hit those clays. Theo's going, the clay's over here, Al, and you're shooting over there. Well, damn, I'm trying to keep up with it.
I was in the Navy, and in boot camp, we had shooting. I mean, they gave Navy guys guns. I'm not sure why. And we went out, and 200 yards, they had a target. It was 20 by 20. And they'd raise it up and had a bullseye and all that nonsense. And if you missed, they had what they called Maggie's drawers. They'd wave it. That means you missed. By the time I got done, the sergeant comes over, or the boatswain mate comes over. He says, you know, your guy in your pit is complaining. I said, what's his problem? His arm's tired from going like this. I missed it every single time. I couldn't hit a 20-20 target.
Yeah, you owned a lingerie store.
So what are you doing these days? I know you two guys have hooked up in a business doing restoration or doing...
Yeah, Al and I, my little brother Al and I are in the vintage car business now, and we just began this year, and that's going real well.
It is?
Yeah.
You got business?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Even if we didn't have business, we got business.
Yeah, that's new to me right there. Really? We do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeez,
And before I forget, this is for everyone here. New rules this year. This is our, fifth year in vintage, fifth race. The first 4 years, the amateurs qualified the cars. New rules. The pros qualify Friday night at 6 p.m. So I just want you, because there's a lot of people that think, and we were doing a radio show today, well, you guys are older now, you're heavier, you don't, some of you guys wear Depends, some of you need Viagra, or both, right? And so Tony Parella said, all right, you boys, we're gonna have a show for the crowd. So 6 p.m. Friday night, we qualify, and the amateurs only get 7 laps. 7 laps. And mandatory, you pit or you're disqualified, and then pros get in.
How many laps do you drive?
Man, I lost 25 pounds in the last, how long did that take, Theo? A couple of months? And I train with Abilene. Abilene is makeup remover. I know anybody. And it makes you sweat. They make boxers with it, and you rub Abilene. It looks like Crisco. yeah, on my dark skin. So, and you rub it all over your body, and you put a plastic suit on, and you sweat. Right, while you're working out. And so,
About that, Brother Al.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it. I tell you.
You know, I saw you when you took your first test for Armstrong.
Right?
And you got out of the car, and I said, how was it? Or you said, damn, that thing's fast. I said, you know what? Suddenly you and I looked similar.
Yeah.
You kind of got flushed when you got out of the car.
Yeah, AJ wanted to know what color my underwear was.
I bet it would have matched.
Yeah, looked like pink and brown sherbet.
Speaking of pink and brown sherbet, how's your friend Bill Cosby? Have you talked to him recently?
Bill's just waiting right now.
Have you talked to him recently?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've talked to him.
Are you calling you rah-rah stick in there, Bill?
No, he just he called me and said he's going to see what's going to happen. I mean, there's so many things that happened 70 years ago. I mean, it's just and the justice was served, and for the victims, they were served. And but Bill, if it wasn't for him, I would have never been in this race. Period. I would have never been in IndyCar. So for that, I'm always going to thank him.
Yeah, well, that's good. So what are you doing now? Are you training Theo, or you stay away from him?
We're partners.
Theo's training him.
Yeah, well,
all right.
That's true.
And I'm glad you lost 25 pounds.
Why? I'm going to have to? No, well, no. Everybody's
say
talking
that.
about big engines. Well, because what did you just say earlier? That the big guys drive the steroid cars? Well, we got steroids.
That's what Tony was saying.
He's
He said
bringing the steroid. Did you
Yeah.
hear him?
Oh yeah,
He's bringing it.
We got some grunt. Hey, that thing's got an Adam's apple, baby.
Do you drive in any of the other events around the country?
No,
No.
just the one gig that
Well, for Pete's sake, they run a Coda, don't they? That's in your neighborhood.
it is.
And he doesn't want you. Well,
No, one show a year is good.
because you don't want to have to lose weight more than once a year.
Yeah, actually, but I'm getting married. And I'm getting married in August, and my fiance is 6'2".
No wonder you got him on a diet. He's going to get his butt whipped.
And that actually was the reason, because Stephanie is she's from Montana, former big farm girl from Montana. She's tall, about 190 pounds, very muscular, and she's in the hotel business now, and so she's moving to Texas, and
You bought her a hotel?
no, she works for a big company,
Oh, okay.
and so that was really the reason I started losing weight, because I mean you're dealing with Mike Tyson now. I mean, we're not talking about one and done. You're gonna go to work, son. You better bring your lunch.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's why he's my partner, okay? There's no one and done here. You better bring your lunch.
Have you guys picked up some work here from this event?
We'll know when we get there. Yeah, we'll know when we get there.
Oh, well, it's only down the street. You haven't been there yet.
No.
You could have emails saying, we need your help.
I'm ready. See that? See that?
Where do you get that?
I can race. I'm ready for this weekend. Where's
My
yours?
bracelets are silver.
Where's yours? Where's yours?
And there's two.
This means I can.
What got you in? Your dad was a plumber, if I'm not mistaken, had a plumbing company.
Yes.
And when I was an apprentice, I said, I don't want to be a plumber. And my dad said, he was an architect, said, no, you don't, because two things you need to know to be a plumber. Brown stuff runs downhill and you get paid on Friday. So that's all you need.
And don't chew your fingernails. No, my grandfather started Henry Ribbs Plumbing in 1927, and when World War II was over, the business really took off because the GIs were coming back, and the building boom really took off. So my dad's hobby was racing. All his buddies raced motorcycles. Joe Leonard and him pretty much grew up together.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so Joe Leonard drove the turbine. Uncle Bobby won the race when Joe's car quit with 9 laps to go. And Joe used to come by my dad's house and put me on the motorcycle tank because I was too small to ride in the back. And he would do wheelies with me up on the tank of literally. And so I'm holding on to the tank while he's doing wheelies. And I mean, my whole life was a sport. And we just finished a movie documentary.
So, yeah.
Yeah, just finished it, and it pretty much tells the story about Willie T. Ribbs and why they called him uppity. But I did. It was when I got down to North Carolina and did a NASCAR race, I got that term, the tagline, uppity. Yeah.
Why would that happen? Explain.
Word has it. Word has it that Humpy Wheeler, the promoter down there, my cousin Donnie used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Donnie's 6'5", about 270, really, and very big. So we were in Charlotte, and we went out to this country bar, him and I, and we both walked in with cowboy hats on. Well, we just were having a little fun. Donnie's very gregarious, so he walks up to the waitress and spins her like that and looks down and says, "I don't know about your future, but your background looks great." Boy, word got back to Humpy Wheeler, and some guy called him and says, hey, your boy Willie T and his cousin, they going to get the Civil War going down here again. So that was where it all started.
And the name of the documentary is?
Uppity.
When does it come out?
It's out. We premiered here 2 weeks ago at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, and next month is when it's going to run.
Where can you find it? Netflix or YouTube, or where the hell do you
All
find
of
it?
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Are you in it, or they got somebody playing you?
It's I'm narrating. And my little brother's in it, and Uncle.
I'm in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
got
Oh, no,
great
that was
words.
great.
I got great words.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And Uncle Bobby's in it, of course, and
Really?
Robbie and
How much did
Bernie
they have?
Ecclestone.
You're kidding. He can
No.
still talk? Wow.
Bernie Ecclestone. Adam Carolla says, "You know Bernie?" I said, "Yeah, him and I are pretty tight." And he says, "You think he'd do an interview?" I said, "Yeah." And Adam said, "No, he won't." I said, "He'll do it." So I emailed Bernie, and I got an email back the next day saying, "When?" And I said, "July 17th. This was 2016. He says, "Be in my office at 11 a.m. So we were in London in his office at 11 a.m. on June the 17th. And he gave us 3 hours.
Well, he's not doing much anymore, so what the hell?
Well, no, this was before he retired.
He retired.
Or sold.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, Bernie don't retire. Bernie sells.
Yeah. Al, the amazing Unser display exhibit at the museum. I understand, what's his name, Bobby? Shows up there from time to time. Will sit forever and talk, sign anything you got. Do you stop by there?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
I
As
was
a matter
o-
of fact, I drove the bus just the other day. You missed it.
Yes, I know. You didn't invite me. That was the problem.
Pardon?
He's not in a wheelchair.
Uncle Bobby? Yeah, he was in May, and yeah, it's a bit of a hard time for him to walk around all day. So Ronnie Dawes, he got him that wheelchair so that he can go trolling for autographs like he does. You know, it was cool. I caught Mario Andretti doing it this year. So you're just like Dad and Uncle Bobby. He goes, what? I said, you're out trolling for autographs. He smiled.
And if I heard the story right, when the two of you were running around and when people recognized you, got mobbed.
Mario got mobbed.
What, nobody wanted to talk to you?
Well, yeah, they wanted to talk to me, but Mario got mobbed. I didn't. I was okay. It was okay.
Huh. What's it like to have the fans remember you? I mean, it's not like you've been gone forever, but you're away from the sport. You were out, and I heard a lot of times, why doesn't Al come back? I don't know. You have to ask him. I don't know why.
Well, I think Jeff answered that question a little bit earlier this evening. If you don't have anything to do at the racetrack, then you don't have anything to do at the racetrack, and so you're kind of like a fish out of water when that's going on. And so, you know, I came back and Brian had me up officiating with him, which I hated very much. And you know, in 2011, I had more drivers pissed at me than I had my whole career. And you just can't win up in race control. There's no winning up there at all, ever. Even the winner of the race will have something to say to you at the next race. And so that didn't work out for me, and I didn't enjoy it. But, you know, being here with Mike Harding and the team, it's just I'm in heaven. It's truly a dream come true, and so I get to pretty much do everything that I used to do except drive the car. And I really like that too, because we'll make a change on the car and I'll just tell Gabby, okay, go see what she's got.
And you wait for him to come back around
wait
and
for
tell
him
you.
to come back around. That's right. So
Do you think Mike is in for the long haul?
yes, we definitely hope so, and we need to get some sponsors on the car, and we need to get some performance out of the car, or Mike won't be here for the long haul. So, you know, I mean, those are the facts of life in racing. You know, you got to go out and you gotta win. You know, and once you win, then the sponsors will want to be on your car because you'll be on TV and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, we got to do that. We got to get her done.
Huh. Funny, you got to win to get somewhere. Oh, well, I guess you know, if everything, the team goes around, you can work with Kevin Forbes in the street business. You'd be a paver.
I drive on asphalt. I don't make the asphalt.
What is it that you two guys can do? If I have a vintage car and I need some help, what do I call you to help me with besides driving?
Entertainment.
Driver coaching as well. That's part
As
of our
well.
program.
Well, do you have
And let me
people-
chime in.
Okay,
You
chime
mentioned
in.
something when Geoff Brabham said, you know, and he just asked Al, you know, do you come to the races? Well, most drivers don't come to races unless they're going to race. And I want to equate that to a porn star. Other porn stars don't watch other porn stars. And I have a few friends, and they've told me we don't watch each other.
See what I mean? Entertainment. Here's the entertainment right here. I think it's a great business.
And we also, for our clients, we go out to dinner with you. We'll go golf with you. We'll take you. Theo will be take you out and shoot, and that's part of the whole package.
So I assume what you said initially, and Al, it's entertainment. You don't fix the cars. You don't help them. Do you help them with setups? I mean, what do you do?
Oh yeah, we're not going to put any wrenches on it.
Well, no, your hands.
Yeah,
Your
no,
hands
no.
can get dirty and nobody noticed. But
No, but you know we'll do like Uncle Bobby and we'll point. You know.
yeah, but by the time he gets done talking, the race is over, and you're saying, there, "What the hell was that?" He does chat a lot.
I love it.
It is all about the racing. I mean,
Yeah.
the vintage racing, and you know, we hooked up in 2014 thanks to Tony and this whole Pro-Am thing, and it's brought a lot of drivers back into the sport, and we saw that in Willie T. We were talking, and we want to go to more SVRA events, and how do we do that? You know, unless Tony comes up with more Pro-Ams, you know, that so far hasn't happened. So we want to get to the races, and how do we do that? And so we figured out that we could start a business together and do some coaching, some you know, driving tips or what have you. Steve Erickson is our third partner who's not here tonight. He does the setups on the cars, and so it's a full package deal. And
Well, if it wasn't for Tony and Mark Dill, if
Exactly.
it wasn't for those two guys, we wouldn't be sitting here right now, period.
Exactly.
And, I mean, it reconnected us after all the years, and then it ultimately put us in business together. So, Mr. Parella, he's the resurrector.
he put me back in victory lane in
resurrector?
Indy.
Yeah, he's the resurrector.
Now, I got to take time because I just spotted. Has anybody heard of firstsuperspeedway.com? You can't tell me you haven't. For God's sake, the man's, yeah, I know you did. Mark Dill is the one that started that. I swear. No, I don't swear. I am sure the number of Facebook things I get with pictures from 1900, 1905, he spends his entire waking life on the computer. He sends stuff that people haven't seen, and the ones that have are dead. It's phenomenal what he does. The time, it's got to be a huge time. Plus, he helps Tony and organizes the drivers and puts the program together because Tony's working in his new house. He's got a dust and vacuum. He's busy. So Mark helps him promote the races, and he contacted me. He said, "You want to do a program with these guys?" Sure, why not? I make it happen, and he did. Here they are. So thanks, Mark, and what you do for SVRA is phenomenal. So you guys ready to go? I mean, you all tuned up. You're ready to get behind the wheel. And, yeah, but you've been driving.
I already said, look at that.
Yeah, I know. I'm impressed.
And John Martin too. John, we got our, see, we're ready. What up?
What do you?
You're slow. You're slow. It's
Come on,
bad to start the week off slow.
I can get some bracelets on. They can I get Rodney King'd in the parking lot. Now I'll have some bracelets on.
Remember, Willie, you don't go out the overhead door.
Huh?
I don't know.
That's a super door when you went to.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Another one of your fine shows.
Yeah. We've had some good ones. But this is to win anything in Indy is a big deal. Anything. It could be any event. If it's here, it's a big deal.
And you're here, so that's a big deal. And you talked Al into joining you. Boy, that had to do some talking, didn't you? You had to really chatter.
Well,
Didn't take much, did it?
no, didn't take much at all.
Did you buy him dinner? And he said, yeah, okay.
No, he was more expensive than that.
I'm not going anywhere with that one. Leave that alone.
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come here. Did you write some of this stuff, or did you make it up off the top of your shiny head?
Right off the tongue.
Boy, amazing. You ever thought about doing a stand-up?
No.
Good.
No.
Good. Glad to hear that.
No.
Thanks for coming. I know Al was here 3 weeks ago. And
Yeah, I'm becoming a regular, huh?
Yeah, well, you moved here. That was your mistake.
I'm proud to be here, Don. So,
And by the way,
yeah.
if nobody's noticed, put your hand up. Go like this. That's 1 of 2.
Yeah.
500 champion.
Thank you.
By the way, how's your dad? Is he doing well, other than calling you up and say, what happened?
Well, that means he's doing well.
Okay.
If he's yelling at the TV and can't find my car, he's doing great. It's when he doesn't call me that things are gonna not
yeah.
be good. So no, Dad's doing great. He was just up Grand Marshal up in Sonoma with Tony, and yeah, he's doing fantastic.
Well, you got to get out and watch these guys. You'll probably hear Shiny over here in his car as he's going by. You'll hear him. He'll be saying something. It might not be printable, but you're quiet. You're really
he
a quiet.
had me at his house this morning at 9 a.m. unpacking boxes. Yeah, because Al's just got a new home just built here, and so this morning Theo and I were at the Ponderosa with him, unpacking boxes, and he's got these bronze horse and statues that weigh 100 pounds. I mean, we're pulling these bronze out, and he can get a workout just unpacking all that artwork he's got. He's got some really great artwork, and
Why not?
yeah.
Why not? What do you? Don't you have artwork down in Texas?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they can walk.
They're clays.
Oh well.
Yeah. On two legs too.
What's her name?
Huh?
Your Finesse's name?
Stephanie Bauer.
Stephanie. Watch him. I'm telling you.
Stephanie's in L.A. right now.
Well, they can get us in L.A.
Oh, Stephanie, yeah. Love you. Love you.
Oh boy. Al, you got a lot to live up with, boy. I don't know.
Hey, I just sit back and take the
Giggle.
ride. I'm enjoying it, so it's all good.
Well, I hope so. There's something I want to mention. But thanks for being here. Enjoyed having you again. I was surprised when Mark said, "Yeah, Al will come back." I said he was.
I don't
just
even
here.
have to mess with your notes, and you've got them all.
I know.
messed
I got
up.
them all screwed up anyway. Thanks for noticing. Your dad used to do that all the time. He'd come in. By the time he got done, I didn't know where the hell I was. Before he throws the whole thing away, I got to tell you, if you are ever looking for a limo, you want to take somebody somewhere, you show off to your girlfriend, or, I don't know, drive around drinking hooch, you've got to call the Grand King Race Shops. Bill was our driver. He has a chauffeur's hat on, shorts, checkered tennis shoes, checkered tie, and he'd open the door for the ladies. I was waiting for him to trip one of them, but he didn't. He opened the door and was very nice about it. I highly recommend it. If you want to take a ride, they got a great car. It's nice and clean and everything. It was a rainy day the day before he come in. The thing was shiny. I couldn't figure that out.
Nice and clean and everything.
And everything, yes. Give him a call. You got to give him a call. Call Bill. 3 o'clock in the morning is when he prefers to get calls. His number is 317-371-0290. If you're looking for a ride in a limo, you want to get a limo, it's a nice car, stretch van. Take care of it. And also the speaker series resumes on Friday night at 7:30 down at the Grand King Shop, 8155 Crawfordsville Road. Dick Simon is the main speaker, but the rumor is Johnny Rutherford will be there, as will Bill Simpson. So it'll be a night you won't forget, I guarantee you.
That's a trio.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's trouble looking for more trouble. And don't forget, next week, George Michael Steinbrenner, the owner of the team that won the Freedom 100 with Colton Herta, will be here, as well as Santiago Urita. And I'm working on another one or two. So see you next week. I want to thank these guys. Al Unser Jr. And the irrepressible, always quiet, Willie T. Ribbs.
Oh, when you see Bill Simpson, if you see him, ask him about that brothel that he caught on fire in South Africa. True story.
I hate to ask, but were you there?
I was a little bit light in the pants in those days, but it was quite a long time ago.
I know it will. All right. All right. We're almost over. But before we all depart, as I say, stick around for a few minutes. But I think it's only fitting that with 3 of her girls still here, her sister here, sing happy birthday to Sharon. And by the way, stick around, here's the cake. Here's the cake.
Sharon, stand up. Stand up, you're on camera.
Yeah. Have you got the camera on? Okay. You got to show her girls that are here, and her sister is sitting next to her. There she is. Happy birthday to you. If you want to stick around and have a piece of cake, I think there's enough, hopefully. And you got a shot of her girls. That's Beth sitting on this end, Sharon's sister Janice sitting next to her is Dawn, and on the end is Kim, come up from Florida. And the whole thing worked out. She was surprised, had a great time. Thanks for being here. Thanks, Al. Thanks, Willie. And we'll see you. Don't forget, the SVRA starts on, Thursday? All right, starts on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, get out there. You see these guys? Oh, boy. It ought to be fun just on the grid with the 2 of them out there. Till next week, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. See you next week. And if you're looking for a magazine or program, come on up.
Hi. How are you?
Good, how are you?